Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale of The Brother's Son. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we open up with Frank Ma. He's talking to Alexis. He's willing to testify against anyone else that's remaining, that's of the ghosts that didn't die, the ones that are wounded or locked up too. It's like, I will testify against them only if you bring in Big Son, because I'm not about to go into a testifying thing against the triads, especially if he's out there and he can still get me God. So if he's in prison with me, at least I feel a little bit better. So like, the last thing I want is that bastard. Once again, out of any one of the triads, he's got the biggest reputation for being like that. He also knows, well, if Big Son's out there, that means Charles out there. Maybe Charles won't be as active if his dad's been removed from the equation. So maybe that's kind of a justification. But I also love they brought back the boiled leaves thing. I was going to talk about it last episode, and I actually recorded a section of it, but I was like, it's not worth kicking him. So it's not part of episode 7, but I did like talk about it a little bit. I just had forgotten about it, recorded it later. I was like, I'm just not going to include it. But either way, I love that they bring it back again, because he starts going on a diatribe and Alexis cuts him off. No. Can you not just like help me out here? So she's in a rock and a hard place. Not really. It's like she needs to find Big Son, and the only way she can do that is, well, she still has Charles' phone bug, but it's dead now. So we cut back to Bruce and his mom, and that confrontation ends up being this complicated thing where it's like, I see where Bruce is coming from, and I also see where his mom comes from. I'm lean more towards Bruce. It's like, she's for so long had to adhere to other people. It's the irony where it's like, she gets pissed at Bruce because for her, it's like, this is what I want. Because Bruce is like, no, like, I want a normal life. That's what we want. To be fair, you're the one that kept, like, specifically his mom is the one that kept pushing the point home of, you'll have a normal life. She kind of said we too. It wasn't just Bruce. She made it on multiple occasions, but maybe as if you go back and listen to her wording, maybe, and I'm saying maybe her wording becomes less, we will have a normal life, but more like, you will have a normal life. Because probably from the very beginning, all these machinations and everything, like her lone goal probably was to eventually put herself in a position to become the, not even leader of the J Dragons, but even like, the Dragon Head. But I think it was always there. It's always been a part of her ambition. Like, once again, like episode 6, her mom talked about what she really wanted and everything. So it's like, right, you wanted this power because you can do it better than anyone else. Like, you do enjoy the power and stuff. And she's the only person in the family that really doesn't like, she's all about the power, whereas Bruce is like, he wants nothing to do with this life. Charles is in this life because out of obligations. And obviously it's like, there's a little bit more similarities between Da-san and, Mama-san. Like, so I think that's kind of interesting in the long run. That it's like, yeah, they're both all about power. They want to go about power different ways. And then their sons are kind of caught in this in-between where, once again, Bruce wants nothing to do with it, but Charles is stuck in the middle, like, and especially how divided the family is currently. And so it is that thing of, she says she never got a choice. No one ever asked what I wanted. It's like, for a long time, you kind of forced Bruce to kind of do what you wanted him to. But to be fair, she did eventually lighten up and it's like, no, go ahead and do the improv. She did kind of give him a lot more runway to kind of do what he wants to, but it's like she was never given that same opportunity, whether it was by her husband or anyone else. Like, she couldn't really just be herself. She's had to like placate and had to play this role for so long, because in Bruce's mind it's like, I know who you are, Mom. You bought all these strainer, or you bought all these like pasta makers, and you don't buy, like, we haven't even made pasta, we don't even eat pasta. It's like, I know who you are, you're just normal, Mom, this is who you are. But for her, it's like, no, this is who I am. And it's just, she's for so long had other people dictate her life that it's so frustrating. And so that, once again, I think that's a little bit of the irony of like, she kind of took away the choice for Bruce, but she kind of gave it back to him. And maybe that's because she wanted to, giving Bruce his opportunity to live his life the way he wants to, I guess coincides with how she had, like, it's like she wishes what someone else could have done for her, she's doing for her own son. But it's also, you're still dragging him deeper into all of this. So it's a complicated thing. So it's so sad because like Bruce is like beating himself up because like yeah, he in his own way, and Charles shows up. Charles actually pulled the trigger. Granted, he missed, Bruce, but the fact that he even pulled the trigger at all was kind of like wow. But Bruce made it clear like what I was doing was protecting my family, and Charles knew that. Like that was the point he kept hammering home when it came to Bruce. And Bruce, everything he did was he was trying to save his family. Initially when he made the deal with the boxers, his mom wasn't supposed to be involved, nor was Charles. But then like he thought, no, Charles is gonna be okay. Like at least he'll have the best chance of surviving, even if he's there during the meeting. I know he's gonna be okay. At least I hope he is. And he thought, oh, my mom's not going to be there anyway. But obviously she went there for her power play. So at the end of the day, he was trying to protect his family. And so what do they do now? It's like, right, he asked me to come and kill my brother in front of my mom. So when I was like, geez, like, and Bruce is like, well, we'll have the only way out of this, we have to kill dad. Well, kind of made it seem like Charles will have to be the one to kill dad. But it's like, and his mom is like, you don't know what you're asking, what it means to be a father's son. And so Bruce tries to talk to Charles. It's like, at the end of the day, this man, like, you have to stand up to him because Charles finds out the truth. He finds out from his mom. So it wasn't his mom that sent the assassin. I don't know why it never clicked in my head. Of course it would be his dad. Like, it felt set up, but I put it all on his mom because his mom's the one with the plan and machinations. It's like, she can be a little manipulative, but sure, but she's not, like I said, she could be a little evil genius, but that's more like when it comes to the criminal side of things, so she's the evil genius. Not as much when it comes to her own family, but she did know what was what because she knew what was coming. And once again, his dad, I did think it was weird because like I said, his dad pushed him to do the killing. It's like, you're not even trying to defend for yourself. You're putting Charles up. I was like, oh, that was weird. Like I said, her biggest regret is that she didn't push back harder, And as she said, I knew that I had to save one of my sons. So sadly, she kind of had to throw Charles to the wolves if it meant she'd be able to save Bruce from all of that. So it's like, once again, it's like I could try and save at least one of my sons, because saving both would most likely, trying to save both would probably doom both of you. So if I can't save both of you, I can at least save one of you from all of this. But finding out for Charles, like, the reason I became the way I am, the first thing that's jettisoned me on this path, that reputation he has as Shirley, that all started because of his father. And it's like in that moment, it's like everything he's done, he sacrificed for his dad, and his dad's the one that made him into what he was. He thought he did that out of obligation for his family, but it's like, no, it was a test. My dad wanted to push me because he saw potential in me. He made me into this murderer. Like, everything that I am, I thought at least I made that choice on my own to protect my family. It's like, no, it was just part of my father's test to forge me into the weapon he needed, And that realization and the truth of all that, and now Bruce is telling him, like, hey, we can be free of all this, Tell dad that leave me, you, and mom alone. Like, we can run away together. He's like, mom was right. Dad will never let me go. It's like, are you not willing to try? You deserve to be happy, So he goes and confronts his dad, and what's the first things out of his dad's mouth? Well, now that a lot of the triad is either dead or locked up, we can go back to Taiwan and consolidate all the power. I get to run things my way. Oh, so how are you? How were things after killing your brother? It's like, that wasn't even the first thing on your mind. You're like, yeah, I know I wanted to kill a son just as little as you wanted to kill a brother, but it had to be done, But it's like, that came out after a couple lines of dialogue about what he's going to do now that he's got all the power. That's all he was focused on. It's not like, oh, I'm contemplating, like, oh, I asked my son to kill my son. That sucks. It's like, he has no real love and connection to Bruce. The same thing for Bruce. Bruce doesn't really remember his dad. So that disconnect made that a little. That's why Bruce so offhandedly could be like, well, we're going to have to kill dad. And why his dad's able to easily be like, oh, no, don't kill your mom. Kill your brother, because it's going to sting more for her, not caring what it would mean for Charles, because it's the same boat of, I know you got affection for your mom, but you're still loyal to me. I know you got affection for your brother, but come on, I'm the only family you really need, because you don't really know either of them. You spent some time with them, but that's about it. It doesn't eclipse the years you've been loyal to me living in Taiwan while they've kind of had to live their lives here in the U.S., so. But yeah, that was like I said, the moment he was going on that diatribe about what they're going to do, consolidating all the power in the triad, it made you go like, yeah, shows you what his priorities are. Like I said, it took him almost a second to be like, oh yeah, so how were things with your brother? You dealt with him. It's like, no, I didn't kill him. And it's like, right, we don't have to do this. Like, just let me go. Let me and mom go. And he's like, what are you going to do? Open a bakery and stuff? And I'm curious, did he know about that because of Jing? Because, like, no one else brought that up around their dad. I don't think like Bruce had, because Charles made sure to like nerf all that talk around his dad as well as like the Wangs, which we found out Home Duty got stabbed last episode. Yoshi's character, yeah, it's his character ended up dying, so it's like so the other two are still alive, and that's why they're extra pissed because they're like, yo, our bro died because of that bitch, Bruce. So what I thought was interesting, because for him it's like, it's all about tradition and stuff like that, but it's like, yeah, but asking me to kill family, like to protect family, I have to kill family, is like, I don't agree with that. I don't co-sign that perspective. It's kind of like, yeah, you get to kind of run things the way you would. Like, he's making all the excuses of like, oh, this is all about tradition. It's like, yeah, you're picking and choosing when you want to follow tradition because you're afraid that if you lose. Charles has been, as Charles described himself early on in the show, he's been the deterrent that anyone would ever step to you, would kind of second guess it because of Charles. So you're like, yeah, like the triad's in shambles right now, but if Charles isn't there to be your right hand, like be your like immediate weapon to kind of like make everyone back down, that's even more reason why he won't let Charles go. Because it's also like, right, I put too much time and effort in you, you're too much of an investment, you're too. Just like your mom as the Rolodex was so important to me, so are you as your role as chair-like son. It's like, I can't let you go. You are my ultimate asset and weapon. And so he decides, like, right, you're going to come back to Taiwan with me. Fine, I'm going to kill your brother. And if you won't do it, I'll let Jing do it because she followed you. So she knows exactly where your mom and your brother are. So she goes, and Charles tries to go after her. And his boys try to be like, hey, bro, don't. Immediately, pow, 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 shoots and kills him. And he goes after Jing. He tries to shoot at her and ultimately ends up getting arrested. Which, let's focus on Jing. That actually kind of sucks. I'm actually sad. I'm curious when it's all said and done, where would Blood Boots' loyalty lie? Because yes, he's loyal to Big Son, but I think he was even more loyal to Mama's son and Charles. I don't think he would have done this. He probably would have fought Jing on this. So it's kind of, I think once again that kind of shows you their personalities of like who they were. Like, I mean, we don't know. Blood Boots isn't in this circumstance, and the sad thing is we got to know like a little bit more about Jing. Like, we got a little bit of her quirky personality. But if you notice, ever since like Blood Boots died, like obviously she's been a little more stilted. She's just been very like, oh, I'm gonna be this character. Like, you don't get to see that fun side of her as much as you did like previously early on in the season, because like she kind of slid back into who she's supposed to be. Because I think like, because her and Blood Boots had that like back and forth. I mean, Blood Boots was kind of the same thing. They're both killers, but I think it's just he had like that charming personality, and so does she in some regards. But I think she dulled a lot of that. I think she reverted to who she needed to be, especially under these circumstances. So she goes and confronts Mama Son, and it's like, right, I'm not going to kill you, but I am here to kill Bruce. It's like, you thought you could be the dragon head. You don't have the stomach for this. And they tussle. Because it was, Grace is the one who said, like, oh, Mama Son's killed people before. I was like, oh, has she? I was like, maybe she has. But maybe she meant more so in the regards of not directly, but, you know, she's part of the family, so she co-signs a lot of stuff that her husband did. So maybe that's what Grace meant. Like, oh, she's responsible. Maybe, like, I mean, who knows how many people their fathers actually directly killed with his bare hands, and how many people he just ordered killed and yada yada, and being responsible for so many deaths. Like, maybe that's what she meant when she was talking. Because I thought, like, well, it probably makes sense that Mama Son probably has killed people too, being in this line of work. But it could have just been she's responsible for people's death, not necessarily that she did in fact kill people. But yeah, she definitely sure as hell killed Jing, because it's like, yo, Mama Son can tussle, and everyone's surprised. I love that bit where it's just like Charles being like, wow, I didn't know Mom could fight. He's like, yeah. And even later on, it's like, oh yeah, Jing is dead. It's like, Charles did it. It's like, no, Mom did. And even their dad being like, huh? And Bruce is like, yeah, I know, right? Like, no one saw that coming. And in the most brutal way too. She was like, you had dinner at my table, at our family table, and you tried to kill my son, and she's just strangling her with the phone cord. Like I said, I actually legitimately felt bad, because I was like, oh, that sucks that it's come down to this. Like, especially because Jing just had her moment last episode where she got revenge for Blood Boots and everything. So it's like, for it to come down to this is really tragic. There was never going to be a way around that. Because her loyalty has always been to Big Son. It was never going to be to her. like I said, blood boots, I could see it being a thing of him siding with her if he was still alive, like I said, but it's kind of a moot point. Like, all this happens, like, after he had died, so... But, because blood boots saw her as family, and Jing kind of did too, but, like, that was more so Big Sun is more her family than the rest of the family, and even Charles, I think. He's kind of a friend and colleague, but, like, obviously Big Sun's more the family, because it runs deeper than even family. It's like, yo, that's my boss. This is, like, what he wants, and his will shall be done. But it is kind of heartbreaking. I'm like, damn, it sucks that it kind of ended this way. But when you think about it in the long run, like, the lines were already drawn in the sand. Loyalties were already shown the moment she made it clear she was by Big Sun's side the entire time, never letting anyone know that he was actually faking the coma. Like, so didn't tell Charles, definitely didn't tell Mama's son, and let her do her machinations, and ended up reporting everything back. I mean, I'm sure that's why, like I said, I think that's why he knows about Charles and, like, his baking and stuff like that. It's probably because of Jing. He also knew about Bruce. It's like, oh, you saved your brother with a lizard. You got the aunties involved to save your mom. It's like all that had gotten reported back to him by Jing because she told him everything. So, but I love when Bruce comes back and he's got the milk, and she's like, no, this isn't what I wanted. It's like, what was it? Like, she was like trying to get evaporated milk, and he get her like condensed milk or something like that. And she's like, it's not the same thing. And he's like, I know they're different. They just didn't have, I love that. That's like, even in that moment, she just killed someone. She's like, oh, you got the wrong canned milk I was asking for. I'm like, is this really the time to be focused on it? She's like, oh, I'm just gonna have to restart the food again. I'm like, wow, you're kind of wild, mama, son. But at the same time, this is all going down. Charles is, talking to Alexis because he had figured it out early on in the episode when he got his phone back. So it is also the thing I thought they had. It was as simple as, yeah, they switched. He had gotten the wrong jacket. That's why I was like, would he have easily put in the wrong phone in a jacket? I mean, that could have easily been it, but it's like, no, just the even simpler explanation. Yeah, they just put on the wrong jackets. But Charles pieced it together where it's like Alexis showing up. She's the one that handed me my phone back. The cop showing up how to even know. And he punched the wall because he knew exactly what happened. So when he's confronting Alexis, it's like, let me go. I can't tell you what's what, but I need to save my family. They're in danger. And Alexis is like, right, I'll let you go, get all the charges dropped against you. All you have to do is hand over your dad. And for him, it's like, even though he's in this position right now, he's not in good terms with his dad. The whole point was just to, like, right, let bygones be bygones. I want to protect my family, will disappear. I confronted my dad. He won't willingly let me go, meaning he probably still would have hunted you down given the opportunity. So to drag you back to Taiwan, and if not, kill you for your disloyalty. But for Charles, it is, he's trying to beseech, Alexis, and it's like, right, fuck you, you bugged my phone. She's like, well, you gave me permission, you're the one that told me to get your phone. It's like, you're splitting hairs here. And for her, it's like, she's like, you're a murderer and this and that. And for him, it's like, I've never hidden who I was. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a good guy, but I've never lied to you. You've known who I am, and I've always kind of been honest with that. But can she honestly say she's ever been honest with him, considering like even them hooking up was just part of a manipulation? So it's like, he's like, at the end of the day, you're no different than my dad. You want to lock these triads up and stuff, but you're just as power hungry too. Like, you're going to use this case to bolster your career. That is what this was all about. It's like, don't mince words and try to pretend like this is about justice. This is about your career. Which, I mean, yes, you're entitled to want to, bolster your career, but don't pretend like you have fully altruistic reasons for doing what you're doing. It's kind of what he's calling out, the hypocrisy. And just, she won't budge. I was curious if she would, because, I mean, if she helps him, it's just going to blow up in her face. So I'm like, how is this all going to work out? But luckily, Mama, son handled that, so it's kind of a moot point to worry about. But Bruce finds out, gets a call from Alexis, and she's like, right, I need your brother to help me, get Big Son. Like, if you can convince him, I'll let him go. Even though he discharged his weapon out in public, it's fine. All the charges, I can get them dropped for him because all I care about is Big Son. And Bruce is crying, the moment he start, really, really leaning into it, he's sniffling and stuff. I'm like, here you go, putting all that acting into play. And then he's like, oh, I just want to alone, no cameras, no nothing. And it's like, right, lean into the meekness that people think you have, and just in that moment just go and the moment she walks away, just kind of straighten his face out. So he ends up talking to Charles, and it's like, right, I'm gonna kill Dad. Like, yeah, I've never killed anyone before. I've never shot the gun really before, but I need to do it because if I don't do it, because you can't do it, and it has to follow me. This is the only way I can protect my family. I can make sure we're okay and you're okay. That's the only way this can all end. It's like I have to be the one to end it with Dad. It feels very poetic. Because for him, he's done so much over the course of this season in an attempt to protect his family, and now it kind of comes down to this. I figured it would be, and I kind of felt bad at first because I'm like, if he does manage to do this, it's going to stick with him just like the blood boots of it all stuck with him of like seeing his dead body. It's another thing to kill someone. It's a whole other thing on top of that to kill your father. So it's just I was so curious to see like if he actually went through with it, and he shows up, gun in hand. Well, he talks to his dad a little bit, and I love because it's like, right, he doesn't fully understand all the Mandarin, so he's catching a little bit here and there. So, but it's like, yeah, his dad trying to gaslight him, like, hey, like, you can come back to Taiwan and lead with me. And it's like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, like, Charles would have never had the guts to point a gun at me, but you do. Like, I heard how strategic you've been. Like, you have a mind for this. It's like, are you really, really going to bring your, like, he's not stupid, because it's like, for one, he has no interest in all of this anyway, but also, who's to say, like, this isn't you placating me long enough so that you can kill me yourself or have someone else kill me, because this way, I did kind of screw the pooch on what you did want it, but also I did in my own way help you, because I ended up by bringing the boxers in, which I guess they are completely gone or done, considering the fact is that, they haven't popped up since. So to be fair, they wanted to expand their operations, but I guess maybe that's all there were, the boxers, not unless there are still some remnants of that organization out there. Because, yeah, they worked internationally, but that doesn't necessarily make them an international organization. They wanted to become one, but they were probably like very U.S. based, and then they spread out internationally to kind of hit their target all around. So, and even then, it's probably only like Taipei and the U.S. were only locations, but they were planning to spread out other places. But that's kind of like it was Grace's operation. But like, that's when I'm like, was she actually like the leader, or was she like a foot soldier that was leader to her own cell? That's what I wanted to know. Was like, it's like, oh, she's kind of her own family, like her own triad group with the boxers, but there's others out there of other cells of the boxers still out there. But it might be like, no, that entire organization died, especially with her. But it's like, she thought she could stop things, and she kind of didn't. She kind of didn't. And for her, it's like getting that revenge is all that was kind of worth. It was all worth it in the end. And even if she had to die in the process, what I've done will kind of be my legacy. But it's like, but you won't be able to live to see it because June killed her. So my point being, going back to what I was saying, I just don't know if he would have really kept that promise, because like, yeah, you screwed me over, but you also benefited me, so I don't know how that really would have gone. Moot point, because Bruce ends up shooting him, and I'm loving it. He's like, you actually pulled the trigger on me, you stupid motherfucker. You didn't even shoot me in the head. You couldn't even like kill me, right? He's like, I'm not trying to kill you, Dad. I'm putting you in a situation. I missed any vital organs, so that now you can call emergency services, an ambulance to pick you up, and you're going to definitely get arrested. It's like, or I could just like let you bleed out here right now. You just have to promise to leave me, Mom, and Charles alone. And you're just like, right, it was nice seeing you, Baba, and like leaves. So he kind of has no choice, because like, right, I don't want to die. So he ends up calling the ambulance. And there ends up being this situation with Alexis as she's looking at Charles, not sure how this is all going to play out. And then she has this conversation with Mark where, hey, neither me nor him are the same kids we were all those years ago. And when it's all said and done, Mark is like, yeah, but I don't think people change that much. And it's like, who Charles was, despite everything, is still there. That sensitive kid is still there. And a little bit of who Alexis is, but their circumstances have... Charles was forged by his circumstances. Was Alexis? No, but it's like wanting power and position in her career kind of did. Once again, it's not an issue to have ambition, but once again, don't kind of pretend like it's something else, on top of that. Like, yes, there is altruism in what you're doing, but don't make it seem like it's only the altruism. It's like, yeah, you're benefiting from this financially, and from, because you're going to use this as a jumping off a diving board to kind of jump higher into other, like, other and further your career and stuff. But yeah, they arrested Big Son at the hospital, and cops are making sure he won't get away. And so for Alexis, it all works out, and because of that, she does care about Charles, so she was able to just kind of kick him and let him go. Was probably able to kind of like scrub all that. Probably say like, oh, he was helping, he was monumental to this, so we were able to just kind of let him go, drop the charges because it all worked out in the end. She probably was able to kind of smooth that over, considering how much of a big bust this case was. She probably had enough sway to kind of make that just kind of disappear, because she does care about him regardless. At the end of the day, her feelings, just like I don't think Grace's feelings were fake for Bruce, the same thing applies for Charles and Alexis, which is actually sad because you're like, man, relationship stuff didn't work out. I mean, at least his girlfriend's like was on. I mean, they're each of the girls that they really liked were on the opposite sides of things. So it's just like, right, Alexis is on the side of like the cops and being a deputy DA, whereas like Grace was like on the triad side of things too, but was kind of more like on a holy mission to kill people related to the triad. So, and then we had Mama's son visiting Big Son in the hospital. I was like, oh, is she here just to kill him? It's like, no, my son's got a good heart. That's why he didn't kill you. And I'm not going to kill you because I want you to suffer. So it's like, yeah, I put it on your chart that you have diabetes. Like, oh, this is helpful for anyone. Insulin's helpful for anyone that has diabetes, but someone who does. I was like, because even I was like, right, like what does injecting insulin into someone who doesn't have diabetes, like what would that do? And yeah, she was like, yeah, you won't be able to move, you won't be able to speak. It's like you'll be kind of locked into your body. I'm like, no, I want you to live, and you'll continue to be in this state. And it'll probably be forever before anyone's, because no one's going to correct that. They're just going to go by it like, oh, this is, no one's going to question it really. And even if they do, it'll probably be a long time before anyone finds out that discrepancy, because no family members are going to show up being like, oh, he's not, because anyone that would be in his corner is not there, because all his right hand people are gone. Charles is not by his side, Zing is gone, so it's like, who, and your right hand dude isn't with you, which we'll get to him later. So like no one's going to correct that, and maybe eventually the doctors and stuff will figure out, but he'll still be like, you know, he'll suffer along the way, which I think it's also supposed to be a little poetic. I'm sure she did that on purpose to not be able to speak or move, because what was he doing? He was faking that coma and stuff and conditions that kind of like draw out enemies and stuff. But now it's like, oh, you're kind of stuck in that situation for real to some extent. So I guess that was also supposed to be the irony behind it. It wasn't until she started walking out that I'm like, oh man, she just snuck in there. But I was like, oh right, her identity as Eileen is, she is a nurse. I was like, it's been a while, so I actually completely forgot. I was like, right, she actually is a nurse. So like she wouldn't even really need to go above and beyond to sneak in there to do that. Like that she had to steal those scrubs. Those are her own. She has her own identification. She was able to kind of go in there. No one's going to know that she's related because her identity is something else unrelated to him. So it's, you know, so I was like, right, you didn't even have to do much to be able to sneak in there to like do that to him. So this is a fresh start for everybody. It's TK gets his little like stick figure tattoo. It's not even a good tattoo. It's a stick figure tattoo representing, because he's flexing on that one dub he got last episode, and he's just like, yeah, I'm so cool. But along with that, you know, we find out from Mama's son that she plans on going to Taiwan to lead the Dragon Head. And I think at the end of the day, he respects what his mom wants to do. He might not agree with it, but it's like she made it clear earlier in the episode this is what she wanted, and he doesn't want to get in the way in that. And especially because in her mind, it's like, I can lead the triads the way I want to, like kind of take them a little bit back to what they were. Like, hey, we fought corruption and oppressors, like that. We can do good. It doesn't have to be this like criminal organ, because her point was to lead through alliance and power, but it doesn't have to be like through violence and stuff. That was never her thing. That was always Big Son thing. So it's like, I can run the triad in my image and how I want to. So, but you know, absolute power does corrupt, absolutely. So who knows, like who she be at the end of the day when she actually gets a taste of all that power. But Bruce kind of co-signs it. We see that Mama's son hooks Charles up with a bakery, and he calls it Little Fatty, of course. Was it Xiao Peng Peng is like how it has said, I think, in Mandarin. because that's the name, but that's what it translates into, the little fatty. So we catch up with that. June, we see, kind of gives herself a new tattoo. It's of the sons, because like, right, she's a son now. Like, they are part of like her family, the only family she has left. Visiting May's grave, having gotten revenge for her last episode. TK don't know what he's gonna do in the grand scheme of things. It's like, yeah, but he's gonna be flexing on his story, like, yeah, I'm so cool, I'm such a badass with my like stick figure tattoo. Still kind of the loser, but you know, maybe things will be on the up and up for TK. But like, he's gonna be one of those like old school gangsters who like to live in the glory days of the type of shit they did when they were like, he's gonna be that dude, like I said, constantly flexing on this one dub. That's gonna be his whole identity going forward. Gonna make himself seem so hard. Alexis, you know, gained a lot of attention because of taking down all these triads and stuff, and the big case that she made. And so when it's all said and done, yeah, she's even saying like, oh, they're like, oh, you're going to run for DA and stuff like that. And she's like, well, I'm going to, you know, the very political answer of, oh, well, I'm going to do what's best for this city and this great country. But it all worked out professionally. But at the end of the day, like Charles said, like, she comes home to nothing. And I'm assuming the things she was eating were the ones that were left from when Charles had made them previously. Maybe. Because I was like, he never officially opened up his shop. And the things he had made at the end of the episode were churros, because of course we got to bring that full circle of him perfecting the recipe. But yeah, it's just kind of, yeah, she got the career that she wanted in the end. Yeah, it all worked out, but you still came home to an empty home, and eating the stuff from Charles made you think like, right, maybe I could have handled that a little bit differently. And you know, is there a future for them? Who knows? I read something really quickly that was kind of positing the whole, oh, maybe there's going to be a June and him thing, but I don't. June could be, I mean, they are kind of two peas in a pod, and they're of that same ilk and world, so it could be a thing of, hey, something could happen. But I think it feels like, I mean, him and Alexis, because even he had said to Alexis, like, what, when you arrest my dad and yeah, you drop all the charges and gets me with immunity and stuff, but what are you going to do, like, have your governor job and have me, your, you know, this ex triad murderer as your boyfriend, like, by your side? Like, how was that all going to work out? And even she didn't know. It's like, it's a complicated situation, but it's still there. They both have feelings for each other. It's just, is it just like, right, we're way well beyond that, especially in the aftermath of all of this. Like, it was never going to work out. We're from two different worlds. We would never mix. To be fair, Charles, his mom told him, like, right, I could use your help, but I only want you to come along with me to kind of be like a representative for me, only if that's what you want to do. I want you to make a choice for yourself for once. I don't want it to be made for you. And so he decides that he wants to help out his mom. So he's going to go with her to Taiwan. And obviously they're bringing June along too. So it's like, once again, she's still in this world. The only person staying behind is Bruce. So because he has his normal life back now, and he's enjoying it. I also love that he still gets to keep the green Lamborghini, so still benefiting from all of this. But but he did do an improv show. Everyone was there. Charles and his mom actually showing up here, but also Charles enjoying it too. So we see things are progressing on that front. So I guess he was able to kind of work everything out with the troupe, even though he was kind of avoiding Home Dude previously. So. But yeah, some interesting developments. But I kept being like, yeah, but there's still enough time for things to kind of go sideways. But when everything went okay, I'm like, oh, because I thought, I won't lie to you, I was like, I don't think they would like kill off Mama's son or anything, but I was like, are we gonna find out like the plane's gonna explode, like is some shots gonna fire off? Like, I was like, there's got to be a stinger to this. I should also note this, I hadn't talked about it the entire time. I don't know why I thought Michelle Yeoh wasn't going to be in this show as much as she was, basically as much as like their father was in the show. I would have expected Michelle Yeoh was going to be in this as much as that. Like, I thought like that amount was, I don't know, not necessarily said that. I guess because like it's been a while since I saw the trailer, because I'm pretty sure I saw the official trailer. I know I got a thumbnail from it for my watch list video, but I skimmed through it, but I'm pretty sure I'd watched it previously, I think. But I guess because she wasn't in the trailer a lot, because my understanding going into the show, I was thinking like, oh, she's going to be out of the picture because like maybe like some bad guys are going to kidnap her, and that's where Charles and his brother have to work together. Like, I thought that was going to be the story of the season. It's like, no, she's just as involved. Like, she's in every episode, and I don't know why. Like, she's a major part of the show. She is one of the leads. She is out of the lead of the show because It's about the Suns, but like she gets top billing. Because in the casting, it's like her name is first, but I'm like, because it's Michelle Yeoh, so obviously. But I don't know why. I was just under the impression like she probably wasn't going to be in the show. If you've seen American Born Chinese, how much she's in that? She's not in that a lot. She's in that a little bit. She pops in here and there, but like I thought like she would probably be in this show as much as she was like in American Born Chinese at best. So that like I said, that was a misconception on my part. So I didn't talk about this entire time, but I was so shocked to see how much she's in this. But my point was like I just wanted to tie that in with the whole like there's no way they kill Mama's son like after everything went down. Like that's like there's so much time. I mean it's only a few minutes, but I'm like there's enough for some stuff to pop off. But then we get to the credits. I'm like I guess it's all okay. But then I'm like, Netflix didn't do its typical thing of, well, do you want to keep watching the credits or do you want to like pick something else to watch? I was like, that means there's going to be a stinger, and lo and behold, we get a stinger, and it's coming full circle with Big Son's right hand dude. I was like, okay. So I was wrong about you in some capacities, but you do come back around it. Because if you didn't hear my earlier reviews, I was kind of certain he was responsible before we kind of found out about the boxers. For pretty early on, I was also suspicious. I've been suspicious of Grace since episode 2, so I kind of called that. But I was also suspicious of like Big Son's right hand guy. So I was like, interesting. I was like, but then I was like, maybe I'm not. Because like once again, I figured it has to be someone we see regularly enough, or at least someone we've seen enough to kind of be like, oh, this person's, this ain't someone out of nowhere. It's someone we've been introduced to, but maybe we didn't spend a lot of time with. Grace, like I said, she would just randomly pop up stuff, and some of the conversations she had with Bruce kind of led me to think she was with the boxers when she was. But like this right-hand dude, I was just like, right. Any second in command is always looking for their opportunity to wear the crown. And he was just biding his time. Because that's what I'm curious of. Was he working with the boxers? Because we still never found out like how the boxers knew to go after. Well, I was about to say Charles is well known enough because once again he's meant to be out front. So they knew that would be enough for them to know that would be enough to draw out. Big Son makes me wonder, was Home Dude a part of that? But he's part of the triad. Would they have cooperated with him if that was really the case? So is he just someone that's been sitting on the sidelines the entire time of like, oh, I've been like planning and waiting for this opportunity? Because he finds out about like, okay, so what about Frank Ma? It's like, well, they've got him hidden away. He's going to testify against everyone. It's like, okay, so either that's implying like he's like, oh, okay, good. Let Frank Ma testify against everyone because once again, it's a power vacuum amongst the triads. We see what Mama's son is trying to do because she's trying to be the dragon head. But I'm curious, will she let that dude run the Jade? I mean, once again, who knows what the restructuring of all the triads are going to look like, and is she going to put like leadership in the head of each of the triads? Like once again, it's all supposed to be run through her vision of what she wants things to be. So, is he someone that follows? Is he going to be like a Dasun 2.0? Like, is he going to rule through violence and brutality and going like will he end up butting heads with Mama's son, or will he play the coy position of like, oh no, like I'm along with you, but I secretly got my plans behind the scene, and I could be set up to be like the future season's potential main villain type of thing. So a lot of potential, like because I was like everything ends up cleanly enough. It still was open enough where you're like, well, we could follow like. Bruce still getting dragged into his family's business. Whatever happens in Taipei doesn't go down the way they expect it to. That was already enough of a story beat. You could draw more on that, but also throwing this other wrench in the operation too with Big Son's right-hand guy. So it leaves room open. At the time of recording this, which it's currently July 12th at the time. Oh my God, that's a July. January 12th at the time of recording this. So the show has been out for like a week. So, obviously, it sometimes takes a while for Netflix to make those decisions. So, it's unclear whether or not they will get a second season. I hope they do. It is in a position where it's like, there's still room for more. And if it doesn't get one, you're satisfied enough. But it's not designed to be like, oh, the show wasn't, at least from the outside, it doesn't look like it was made to be like a one-off. It's like, no, we're set. We have set up to be a season 2, so it seems like they have that clearly in mind if given the opportunity to get a second season. So if you had to end it here, you could. So I wouldn't be as heartbroken, but I still would be disappointed if the show doesn't get to continue, because I would love to see more of the show, whether crazy circumstances they find themselves in, like how Bruce would get dragged into this again, because he inevitably would. And would Charles ultimately end up having that normal life that he wanted? Like, Bruce got to have that normal life, but maybe, like, now that he's got his normal life back, does that, once again, the inverse end up happening again, where, hey, Bruce gets more dragged into this stuff, this triad stuff, whereas Charles gets dragged back into a normal life. You can lead into some of the whole him and Alexis thing, like someone's kind of implying maybe him and June, but I'm like, it'd be interesting if it ended up being June and Bruce, but it seems like it would more likely be a June and Charles. But would that work out, especially to him and Alexis? But would that even work out, considering both different sides of the law type of situation? There's just a lot to consider. A lot of interesting stuff that could get carried over to a second season, and be interested to see how they would handle it. So, like I said, fingers crossed, hoping for a second season. I don't know how well the show's doing ratings-wise. I don't know if it's still in the top 10 at the time of recording this. I know it was pretty early on when it aired, so hopefully that'll get in high enough ratings. I think it's been well received enough, but once again, it's more so about viewership. That really determines whether or not Netflix, is it cost effective, of like, oh, how much money we're putting into this show? Has the viewership shown that it's worth the second season? So like I said, I hope for more for this show. Once again, not just a second season and let that be in. It's like, no, I want the show to go on for as long as they have story to tell. So if that ends up being a second and third season, hopefully they get to tell the story they want to tell. So hopefully we get more of the brother's son, because I'd love to see more. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.